The light of the moon reflected on the high forehead, the intense eyes, the strong cheekbones. You'd be wise to sneak back into those woods and never come out again. He could feel his hands flex, getting eager, getting ready. The tall figure came closer, standing over him. "I know about you," its voice said, suddenly different, lower, or fuller. "I know all about you." And then the looming figure was upon him, swiftly, just like that, a shadow blurring, and suddenly up against him, over him. He didn't feel the knife until it plunged deeply into his gut. Again and again. "I know all about you," the deep, guttural voice said, "and you're no longer needed." He dropped on his back and looked at the face of a man who looked like a boy. He could see the smile. Then he looked further up into the heavens. Even though the stars were out, all he could see was a growing flood of darkness. For a brief second, he felt a dread come into him, worse than any feeling in his life. He knew that he was done, but the terror had just started. Part 1. Division. Chapter 1. The Stranger in the House. A loud crash woke her. It came from outside their bedroom, but she wasn't sure where. Stephanie jerked and turned onto her back, opening her eyes and adjusting to the pitch black. Next to her, Jim's heavy sleep floated somewhere between snoring and ragged breathing. She called out his name twice, but he wouldn't wake at this hour unless she tugged at him. He was a big man who didn't go to sleep easily, but once he did, he stayed asleep. She slipped out from under the bed's massive covers, and the chill of the winter night greeted her. The wind blew hard against the house, and she wondered if it was still snowing. The first few days in January had been particularly brutal, and they were forecasting another round of snow for Chicago that weekend. "I know I heard something, and I know I'm awake this time. I'm not sleepwalking." The doorknob felt hard and cold as she turned it and opened the door. She walked down the hallway, a small nightlight illuminating the floor. This house had 4 bedrooms, and they had put Ashley in the room closest to theirs. Ash and Zachary were still adjusting to separate rooms after being cramped together in their tiny room in Dombey. Sometimes Ashley still wanted to sleep with them, a habit that was hard to break, and even harder to argue with, now that they were in a new house. They had been here since September, but it still didn't feel like home. The furniture had been picked out by someone else years ago. The house itself felt like a model home, one of those you toured but never lived in. It looked like it was trying to have the feel of a home, but didn't really get it. One day they might know what it felt like to have their own home. Not someone else's house they were borrowing, or a house they were renting, or a temporary house they built themselves on the mission field. Stephanie wanted stability. Something she could see every day for 10 years, maybe something she could grow old in. Ashley lay in her bed with half the covers off. Stephanie put them back over her and made sure she could hear her breathing. She always did that with her kids, even though they were 5 and 8. Ashley was her baby, and always would be. What about another one? She could hear Jim's question, but knew she was through. She dearly loved her children, but she didn't want another. Men